What's up, everybody? We getting rid of that negative energy out there, cleansing, grounding. Hope everybody, even if they're on their way to work, make sure they get cleansed out there of the negative debris they pick up during the night and astral debris. Rack out on the way to work, right? I like that. I like that. You see what's down there. Hey! People are out there. April Fool's Day is Jesus' real birthday? Well, nobody knows Jesus' real birthday. For sure. Larry's out there. What's up, brother? The sky's pretty clear right now, actually. The moon was blue. Blue. The moon was like blood red last night. But the sky's like crystal clear blue right here, right now. I don't see no chemtrails. Pretty blue. But last night the moon was like blood red, especially when it first was rising too. Let me put this shit back in there. We were jamming out. How is everybody doing out there today? Room's almost building up. Morning. Rise of the Celts. God, Rosalina Silva. Zach Vaughn. Esma, everybody out there. Free energy. That's my buddy Larry. Morning. Yeah, I was jamming out a little bit. Even the sunrise this morning had a crazy colors. And I knew it was going to be like that because of the moon last night. That moon last night was like blood red. Crazy. Always people always say there's always omens when the moon's going to be blood red, right? Well, I've been planning on doing actually a series, I guess you could say a series of shows on this. And it's a topic that me and even Gary Wayne and other people have talked about for years now, right? And it all goes back to the rebellious fallen angels and the giants. And a lot of these energy spots that we talk about and a lot of the sacred spots on our planet that are the most restricted areas, in fact, are restricted areas for a reason, right? And we've been discussing for years certain spots. And when, in my opinion, when you have somebody who has certain experiences where they get these premonitions or dreams, and then come to find out that this is actually other things that people have experienced. I think once something gets experienced, it's in the collective consciousness of humanity, right? It's imprinted on the memory, and it's available, and people can peer into that, especially if they're immersed in that same sort of data and research, right? And one of the spots that has been, I mean, you could go back to any mystic throughout history, and most of them will talk about as Tibet and the Himalayas being the center point for spirituality and for the birth of the gods, even having a city of the gods. And yesterday I got cut off and I was about to discuss this further, but we're going to get into it a little bit now. It's just like a pre-talk, because I definitely want to be able to do it where I could share a screen and have things available for this discussion. That's why I'm gonna do the more in-depth discussion when I could do it from a home screen, and even on my radio show we'll be discussing this as well. And I started talking about in 2015 some of the visions and dreams that I've had about this, where the more I was researching about Nephilim and the fallen angels, and going deeper into the Bible and secret books of Enoch and just sacred writings from all traditions, the more I was getting a psychic imprint of that research and that information. The more my dreams would be affected by it. The deeper the research I went into it, the more I would be able to get, information on it. And even my dreams, I would see some of the things, and I would get. So, when I found out about Dr. Muldashev, oh my God, that was like one of the key points of my research, where I realized the stuff that I was experiencing was not just definitely not my own creativity. Even though I am a creative person, the creativity comes from somewhere. You're tapping into something out there, right? Some sort of like what would they say, like a Akashic record, or some eternal memory of the universe, even not just the planet, of the universe. So when hold on, I had to check a message real quick. Oh, cool! You got your order, no doubt. So when I first heard about the expedition of Dr. Muldashev, it made me actually like have better belief in myself as well, because some of the things that I was experiencing and seeing and tapping into was directly almost described in Dr. Muldashev and his scientists that he took in his expedition into Tibet. And for those that don't know, Hitler was experienced in the occult, right? Him and his they had different like societies that they were connected to, right? The Vril Society and these what was the other one? I forget the other names now, but there was these different occult societies that they were connected to, right? And the Thule Society and things like this, right? So they were pretty much convinced Hitler, through all they were going all over the world looking for information to find out where they can make the perfect man, right? Where they can find the quote unquote the city of the gods, right? Where information was there, genetic information was there on how to basically construct the perfect man and the perfect temple, right? And the perfect system, right? Like there was this quote unquote city of the gods that supposedly was in the Tibetan Himalayan mountains, right? Now some say that Hitler never and his people never found it, and that Dr. Muldashev found what Hitler could not. But I actually don't agree with that. From what I'm feeling, is that certain people connected to Hitler and his scientists and his expedition teams did actually get as far as Dr. Muldashev, but they could not handle. They stayed in there too long. They were forced to not leave there without, coming back with something of significance or something like that. And because of that, they paid. And they never made it out there with their lives, most likely. And if they did, they never made it home. or if they made it home, they never made it home with their sanity and able to be give anything of significance, right? But Hitler did have some sort of contact, right? He was getting technologies that were connected to inner Earth, most likely, and inner Earth dimensions, and this leads to Tibet, to the Tibetan Himalayas, the Mount Kailash, all that. And supposedly Dr. Muldashev and his scientists, they found the city of the gods. And before, we could go into a little bit here, because I want to go deeper on my show and on YouTube later on tonight. But basically Dr. Muldashev, he took scientists on his expedition, and there had been various other expeditions, like before Dr. Muldashev took his travels, right? There had been a few other German expeditions. There had been expeditions from the United States. There had been expeditions from Britain, Sweden, even Russia, right, or the USSR at the time. So, another part to mention too is that all these other expeditions that happened before Dr. Muldashev's, there was virtually no information that he could go on from those other expeditions, right? They were all pretty secret, all marked in mysterious secrecy. And basically, Dr. Muldashev said that before he went on the expedition, he basically depended on the people around the area, the locals. And the day before, he was out asking around for the locals to give him information about this area, right, in Tibet. And the day before he was supposed to hike up to the mountain, and let me remind you, like Mount Kailash, all those areas, this is superstitious, almost sacrilegious to climb up these places. This is where Shiva sits, right? This is known as the mountain of Shiva, right? And most likely they are dragon scales, and they are actual DNA that was made into there's an inner city connecting to inner Earth in there. And we'll go into that deeper. But the day before he was supposed to hike the mountain, there was Tibetan lamas that pulled Dr. Muldashev aside. And he said that this lama basically told him that, well, like on his journey, if they could find basically like this tall statue of a man reading a scroll or something like that, then that would show them the way to the city of the gods. So they had gotten directions basically from this lama, and they basically, like, according to Dr. Muldashev, they found this huge statue, that it was damn near 200 feet tall, right? And it was sitting on a smaller pyramid. And it was on like some sort of plate, like circular plate too. And it was the pyramid, and this huge statue was on this circular, like, weird plate. And the statues basically had his hands on the plate, and his back was like, arched back, so it looked like sort of that he was staring to the stars, right, to the heavens. And in sacred Tibetan texts, they actually have certain hymns and writings, like their hymns and different writings in the Tibetan text that talk about these golden plates that were stored underneath a statue. And that these golden plates, basically, if somebody would hold them, they would get a telepathic download of ancient past and all of this, right? So the Lama told these guys that if they reach the statue, they'll find the city of the gods. And supposedly, just like the Lama said, they found this statue. And they found the city of the gods, which was like almost, I think, like up almost close to 50 miles square, this city. And there was these huge, unusual monuments and pyramids that were like 15 to 1900 feet tall, right? So this was on, they said it was like in 42,000 feet within the Himalayas, on a certain plain, like a flat plain that existed within the Himalayas, right? So, and it was bigger than any peak, even like in Alaska and things like that, huge, right? And it was on a flat plain in there. So the interesting thing, though, too, is that it goes way deeper from there, because the whole time when they were in there, Muldashev was making a map, of the whole place, and he was taking pictures and videos. And one of the legends that is known, even by the Tibetan lamas, they were telling him, was about the chantamani stone. And the chantamani stone means like the matrix of life, the matrix stone, the matrix of life stone, right? And they were inside the city, and they came upon like these almost like coffin pods, right? And this is just like I was talking about before I even knew about this expedition. I was having these dreams, that would wake me up in cold sweat, and the sweat would be like this thick olive oil, like almost like I came out of the womb, like another dimension sweat, literally like that, right? And these frightening dreams that I would get, where I would walk into this huge opening, right? Almost like I was in a cave. And there were these crystal pyramids, and it was like digital. Like there was stuff moving on the pyramids, like digital. And there was water in front of me even, and it was like digital water, right? And things were moving inside the water. And then I saw, like, dug out of the side of there were these crystal pyramids, and on the side of them there was like these holes in the side of the walls, right? And there were these huge, like 12 to 15 foot tall giants in there, and they were like frozen in time, like suspended animation, just like this, right? And I reported this way before I even knew about who Dr. Muldashev even was a person, right? And I saw these huge, they were like almost etheric crystal and metal headsets on them that were like blinking in and out of existence. Like they looked like Princess Leia's ears, like these round circular devices around each one of the giants' heads. But they were blinking in and out of, like, they were like these etheric crystal, kind of like a holographic crystal metal structure, but almost like it was there, but it wasn't there. You only could see it at certain bendings of light, almost like you would see the flash on Rainbow Moonstone or something like that. You had to see it at a certain bend of light, and you would see these circular metal crystal structures around their ears, right? And then I would start to feel this like, pounding malevolent force, and it would wake me out of the dream, like, oh my God, like, wow, like I couldn't even be in the dream anymore. I shook my way out of it. And I had a couple of those dreams back, I would say 6 or 7 years ago now, right? And a long time ago. And I started talking about it in videos in 2015. It was reported by various people, and I started to find out about his expedition. And that, when he found the city of the gods, after he sees this tall statue and he finds the city of the gods, he walks in there, he sees all these pyramids, right? All these huge pyramids and stuff. And then him and his scientists come across these pods, like coffin apparatuses, and there's friggin' giants inside of them. But the giants are like still alive, and they're in suspended animation, right? And then he reports that him and his scientists couldn't even be in there for a few minutes. They started to feel this malevolent force come across them and this pain come across them, you know, and they just couldn't be in there anymore. They had to leave. You know, and what's the most amazing thing about it too, even more amazing in my opinion than the giants being in there, because they're frozen in suspended animation, in fact, you know, ready to awake at a given moment, right? They're if something's in suspended animation, it's with the attention of awakening again. Look, somebody's cane. Isn't that weird? Right on these sacred woods, you got the cane of an old man there. You know, I've found items of people that I've replaced here. It's always done me well. You know what we'll do here? So people see it. So even more crazier than the giants is that after Dr. Muldashev leaves this, you know, gets out of there and they get home and they find out about, you know, they look at the map that he was making of the place. He realized that the map was actually in the shape of like triplet DNA, right? It's in the shape of a pyramid, the whole city of the gods, right? It's in the shape of triplet DNA, which is the matrix of life. This is like where their amino acids and everything is in there. And that is the whole layout of this city of the gods is actually a layout of the triplet DNA. So that's pretty intense. So we're going to go into that as well. See what's going on. What do people think about that out there? And you guys can look it up. I mean, you could find some information on the computer, I'm sure. I had gotten a couple of books by Tom Horn and Steve Quayle and those guys a few years back that reported about the Dr. Muldashev expedition. And then I found out from a couple of other sources out there. So if that, I believe 100% of that story, because I tapped into it, you know. And I've always felt like Mount Kailash is one of the most sacred areas, and I think that area has an entrance, and several spots have entrances to inner earth, what they would call Patala. You know, even people call this Tartarus, right? There might be different chambers, different inner earth chambers and worlds and dimensions. So for sure there are. And I think Hitler did find something within the Tibetan mountains, and it probably killed whoever was sent over there. Yeah, some say Agartha, some say Shambhala, you know, some say there's also all different words, you know. And there's all stories of underworlds or hells even, right? Patala, you know, Amenti in Egyptian, they say Hades, right? Hell, right? Sheol in Hebrew. Telos, yeah. I think Telos was one of the blacksmiths, you know. A lot of them are blacksmiths within inner earth, like Prometheus. And These are all giants. Yeah, Mount Shasta is another, you know, I'm gonna be talking about these actually on my Patreon. I've been doing it as well. You know, Mount Shasta, Mount Graham even. Yeah, there's all sorts of Mount Shasta. You know, you ever see the way the clouds, lenticular clouds, sit on top of Mount Shasta as well? Mount Shasta is definitely a spot that I think has a connection to inner earth within it, just like Mount Kailash. All sorts of stories of fairies and elves and all that stuff associated with Mount Shasta, and that too, UFOs, abductions. Yeah, there was this guy that wrote about Mount Shasta. I think his name was Frederick Oliver. I think it was in the 1800s, the late 1800s. I have a book. That's a reprint of the original that he wrote. I think it's from the 1880s that talk about Mount Shasta. Pindar? You mean the writer Pindar, the historian? I mean, I have some of his books, some of the books by Pindar. I think it was the Complete Odes and different things. You talking about Pindar? Or are you talking about Pindar, there's like a reptilian king that's called Pindar as well, I think. Is that who you're talking about? Oh, so I am right. You're talking about Pindar, the white, blue-eyed reptilian king? Is that what you're talking about? King Pindar? Hey, Cindy. Yeah, I pretty much went into it what we were talking, what the topic of today's. Well, usually sometimes it's the white and blue eyes. I guess it could be white and red eyes too, but white and red eyes is usually albinos, humans that are white and red eyes, but there's these white, blue-eyed, many-winged, reptilian, alien type beings that I'm talking about, that have like sharp, piercing blue eyes and white, scaly skin with feathers. But yeah, no, most humans that come out albino, their eyes are red, like, but they're also like blind. You know that? Legally blind usually. I have a friend's son that's albino, and he's like just a little like not full on albino, but kind of like he classifies as like albino, but he's not like full on albino bad, and his eyesight is really, really bad, like legally blind, basically. Yeah, I can't say much about, if you're asking questions about white, you know, the reptilian King Pindar. I can tell you that what I do know is that there are certain sections of Draconian magic throughout Britain, throughout the that are connected to the United States, and throughout the whole world, you know, and some even connected to the military, that worship these beings, and some of them are cults to Apophis and Set and Leviathan. I mean, shit. Even Anton LaVey and Michael Aquino both had odes to Leviathan in their Bibles, their satanic Bibles. Both of them. So that goes to show you that they are worshiping the serpent, the Draconian serpent. And it's not in the positive divine way that some Indian lamas and Tibetan lamas might be portraying. This is all about sacrifice and bad stuff, dude. Real bad stuff. I mean, stuff that's not even, that you don't want to talk about, that you don't want to even put in your mind. Well, that's interesting about the Joseph Smith. I mean, because I've always said that Moroni, the one he called Moroni, was a Grigori. And we have a very similar story. Very similar story in Italy. And people don't realize their whole religion was started from it, basically, too. A revival of the old ways. But through a woman who was led to these sacred scrolls. And one of them possibly was made of special metal. She had 9 scrolls. And 8 were supposedly normal, and 1 was of a sacred material. Some say it was metal. And these were taken by the Vatican in the 1300s. Somewhere in the 1300s. Now, her name was Aradia. Originally, they were calling her Aradia di Toscano. Aradia or Aradia of Tuscany. Some people say she never existed. Some people say she was sort of like a messiah to the peasants. Like I said, some people say she was a myth. But according to the Italian traditions that have been passed down to me and many others, she was born in the early 1300s. Not 1313 like some people say. That's just a little bit too, traditional, like the way they say that. It's actually what I have learned that has been, you'll never find in history books, that it was actually her birth that actually sealed the fate to the Knights Templars being burned. That her birth was because of a god and goddess ritual, a sex magic ritual that was done. And they used the witch bloodline from Tuscany, and the male was most likely a Templar or somebody associated with the Templars. And it was in the early 1300s. And I most likely they used the woods of Lake Nemi. And then when Aradia, who originally was from Volterra, which is in Tuscany, when she moved from Tuscany to the Albound Hills, 19 miles from Rome, to Lake Nemi area, which is where I'm connected to, right? That Lake Nemi area, I find even in my past lives, I've been there, that Lake Nemi area is a very sacred area. And when Aradia, as a young teenager, growing up as a woman, moved from Tuscany to Lake Nemi area, she was in the Albound Hills one day, and she had an experience. She activated her birthright, basically. The reason, the birth ritual that conceived her, right? When she was a teen, she moved to that same area the birth ritual was done at, and it activated this. She had this experience where she saw the sky darkened. She saw the plurality of worlds and everything, right? And she heard this whisper to her. She heard in Italian what means moon shadow, right? She had this moment, and at that time she activated this experience with what she called the Grigori, which are basically seraphim, fallen angels, rebellious angels, if you want to call them, or archangels, guardian angels, however you want to look at it, bad spin or a good spin. But it gave her sacred knowledge of the old ways, and she was given these 9 sacred scrolls, and she was teaching these old ways about the knowledge of the stars, about reincarnation, about psychic abilities, all of this stuff to the peasants in that area. And there was these outlaw clans building. There's a lot in the Lake Nemi area, the hills of the Alban Hills. In that time, there was a lot of outlaws and runaway slaves and different people that were living in those woods in that area. So these tended to be the people that she was preaching to, right? And of course, this got back to the Catholic Church, and they eventually hunted her down, imprisoned her. Then the prison that they had her in, a mysterious earthquake hit the prison, and she disappeared. And then she reappeared later on. She was recaptured. Her followers were taken. They took the scrolls, and then supposedly she did escape, that they didn't kill her, and she escaped to Siberia somewhere. But the story, it goes hazy. Most likely she might have even been killed, or, most likely they never kill the really powerful ones, that they're kept for a reason until they can get no more of what they want from them. Usually they use the powers to their benefit. And usually, originally, like I said, she was called Aradia or Aradia of Tuscany. And there has been all sorts of information that came down through the darker side of shamanism and mysticism in Italy, from what we would call the Malandanti, who perverted a lot of the information, the same as Satanism did. So a lot of the information from Aradia was sacred information, like the Bible, right? And just like the Bible was Satan inverts it. It's like, saying the Bible backwards and prayers backwards. They invert the information to demonize it, to satanize it in a way. This is what the same thing did with a lot of the Malandante families, is that they took some of Aradia's information and they reversed it for evil ways to get mystical powers, not for the good of man and for healing and for a higher harmonic frequency. They did it for a more controlling and dark frequency, which is what a lot of humans do, and elite powers of the whole world do when they get sacred information, is that they tend to use it to control others instead of helping others and sharing it. They invert it. They back engineer it the wrong way. Got Severini. Who else is there? Goddess Smacked. Hello, Juliana. Well, you guys just joined. I was playing guitar at the beginning of the at the beginning of the video, but I'm not gonna sit there and. Yeah, we can make customs. You could contact me. Custom tensors. You can contact me about that. I have certain products that you can't get anywhere else, like my ear device and my little ankh, the specific ankh that I make with the spiral in it and everything. And my ear device for sure no one else has, you know. I don't know where Roz's been. I've been feeling the energies lately too, just like everybody. I've been getting like lower back pain too. Things have been moving, changing. Things are changing within the next few months, big time, I feel, you know, big time. And there's things awakening on our grid. And I've been feeling it. Some other people have been feeling it. And it's not necessarily saying this to scare anybody. It's just how things are. Things change. You know? And they just want people dumb and fat and sitting there oblivious to what's coming. Believe me, man, they've been sending things into space, satellites, this, that, everything, because they know something's approaching. They know something's right there, and there's all there's all sorts of signs that you can see when you put pieces of the puzzle together. You realize, you know, big things are coming, and the global elites on our planet, they don't have any control over anything. The only thing they can sort of control in a way is us. You know, they can herd us around, but they don't have control over the planet or our energy grid. No matter how much they like to patrol the coordinates. You know, look at Mount Graham. Mount Graham has like a radio, what's it called, a laser, I forget the exact name. It's a long name that makes it out, but they have this radio telescope on Mount Graham, both the Vatican and NASA, right near each other. Hold on. And I had to put I'm running out of battery. My light just went off on here. But yeah, Mount Graham has, the Vatican and NASA has high-tech radio telescopes. The Vatican's, it's basically called Lucifer. It stands for something. I forget the exact word for it, but it's like binocular or something. Like laser binocular, I don't know. I forget exactly what it's called. Or large binocular friggin' I forget exactly what it's called, but it's called Lucifer. It's their radio telescope, and it's put on Mount Graham, which is a sacred spot to the Apaches. And come on, I mean, it's basically called Lucifer, and it's looking for dark matter, and it has to do with dark matter and stuff like that, you know. So they're telling you, and they're at strategic spots where there's been cosmic connections before. And a lot of these forces that they're trying to, you know, open up are Nephilim forces. And they know it. Well, I think I'm doing what I think RH negative bloodline should do, you know, is making people aware. Those that can sense it and tap into what's coming, the best you could do is make people aware so they can protect themselves. they really don't know what's going on out there, or what things people just guess. Even with Oumuamua, they're just guessing. Now they're saying, oh, it might be like liquid nitrogen, or nitrogen, like almost like a Pluto-like planet. And yeah, maybe it could be that kind of material, but maybe that's the chemical process that something turns into after an angel blows up. It could be a piece of a huge archangel type being that was used as, a spaceship, basically, a transport technology for that angelic being to continue its life force and its mission. To seed worlds. Right? So they're using biologies as sort of these transport ships. That's how I feel. That is for sure some sort of technology for seeding worlds and for awakening things. And it's most likely sending out harmonic light codes out of it, and contains literal DNA within it to seed worlds. To drop off even cometary dust and different things. Once the sun hits it too, it awakens things. Things turn into vapors and things like this. So there's some sort of technology taking place where when the sun hits it, it's bringing it to different places. It's falling onto the earth through the stratosphere, through different things, after it interacts with the sun. Yeah, it's no question about being on the positive side. That's what I would like to say too. For those out there that need to hear this, I have never in my life, except for a few times that I've fought with like a family member or a loved one, like girlfriend or something like that, ever like was like, oh, I like intentionally like wanted bad for the person. And a few times that I did, like, unfortunately in my head was like wish bad on the person in a way. Like I was so mad at them, I was like, oh, fuck them, I hope they die, or so. Like I said that by accident. I regretted it, right? And I didn't even mean to say it. I just was so mad. I'm an idiot, right? But besides those few times in my life, I literally have never ever sat there and said, oh, I wish bad on a person, or thrown negative energy, or did a magical working or anything like that on somebody, ever. Goes against everything I stand for and my ancestors stand for. We don't make spells, we break them. That's it. Any bad vibes that people get, it's and things like that, sometimes it's most likely in their own heads. But there's other people out there that do intentionally throw hate at people. And I think people can tell who those people are. And if you can't tell who those people are, then man. But people can feel it, Some of the richest people in the world are some of these people. Some of the most selfish people in the world end up being some of these people. But thank you everybody for joining me. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. I'll see you guys later. Spiral out.